Hey there. Um, so I'm going to give you an overview of what I did for Project A. What I decided to do is review the policies in our dining hall, which probably wasn't exactly what you had in mind with leadership policies, but it's where I noticed a lot of inequity at our school. Specifically, I wanted to talk to the students from different populations to see how they felt about the dining hall, the food, and the structure, and also the dining hall staff to see how decisions are made about what to serve. What sort of prompted this for me was that we switched vendors this year, and we have a new food service vendor. And so last year, what we did is we had the main line, and there was also an international station that had food from a variety of different countries on a rotating basis, um, uh, all different kinds of things. And that had actually been new last year uh, as a change from having it be a total Asian station, because we have a huge population. 40% of our students are from mainland China. Um, so this year, it's gone back to being an Asian station. And basically, all they have every day is noodles and broth and some things to go on it. So, what I've been noticing all year is that our Chinese students don't eat any of the food. They come to the dining hall with their own food, either takeout or like instant food that they've prepared. Um, and they don't eat what is actually being served for the most part. So, in speaking with a couple of our Asian student leaders, what they expressed was that, well, they didn't like the food, which was obvious, but that also they felt like that their dietary needs weren't really even being considered in terms of taste, in terms of preparation, in terms of what they might want. And they were a bit confused about why this was, since they are such a large, population at our school. Um, and when I asked the dining hall staff about it, we talked a little bit about how the meals get planned, and the answer, as it seems to always be, is budget. And well, we have a budget, and I didn't really think that was a great answer, because uh, all food costs money. It doesn't necessarily cost more to incorporate more recipes that have some Asian influence, Asian spices, Asian tastes to appeal to a broader audience at our school. Um, and so after that, and I sort of, got the basics of why things were, I went a little further and sort of talked to different students about, the separation they see in the dining hall, because it really is quite separate. And, a big part of that is because most of our Asian students bring their own food. So obviously, if they're sharing food, whether it's takeout or food that they've brought in and prepared in the microwave, because they're sharing food, they're eating communally at a table together, which is great for them. They're sharing food, they're being social, they're building community, but at the same time, they're isolated from the rest of the community. And I think that creates this sense in our American students that our Asian students like want to be separate, and it does create a divide. Um, so what I did was talked to our associate head of school who handles our dining hall vendor, uh, to talk about maybe trying to come up with a plan for next year where we would incorporate more everyday recipes that had more of an Asian influence or an international influence, rather than having there be a station. Because I think the whole idea of having there be an Asian station or an international station sort of separates it. Where really, we are a school with a very large international population. Um, and it shouldn't be something that's separate, this like special thing off in the corner. it really should be incorporated into our everyday life, where there's a variety of different recipes served every day that appeal to a variety of different tastes. Not only because it will help build student community in terms of more students will eat in the dining hall, more students will share their meal in the dining hall, but also because it'll allow our students who don't tend to go over to that station to experience a wider variety of recipes. So I didn't get very far in terms of actually getting anything done, but I did start the conversation, and it was interesting because it was sort of basically reinforced what I already knew. I mean, you can see it in the dining hall. You can see the division, you can see the separation. And, it's not hard to just figure out that the reason there is that separation is because they're not eating the food. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought about how odd it is that we just have this like Asian station with like the same thing every day, and just what kind of message that sends to our Asian students. Sort of like we've set up this station for you in the corner, but don't expect like variety, don't expect anything even close to what the other students are getting with their like American taste food. So I thought how that was actually sort of harmful, not helpful. I know that the intention was to be helpful, but in a lot of ways, I feel like that's actually like a harmful message to send. So obviously, I didn't make a lot of change happen immediately, but we are talking next year about how to make that a bit more integrated, so that there isn't that separation. So what I learned from that is, it was interesting because I originally went in thinking like, okay, like we need to figure out how to get our Asian students to start eating in the dining hall. We need to expand the Asian, section. We need to, have there be like a bigger Asian section. But then in the course of doing the project, what I started to think about is the fact that why does it have to be separate? Like, why do we have to separate out Asian food, international food from typical American food? If we're saying we're an international boarding school that is globally minded and welcomes students from all over the world, why is our food American food? And every other type of food is sort of this special food off in the corner. So that was interesting because I didn't initially think that, but then as I went further into sort of talking to students and thinking about it myself, I realized that in itself is a bit of a problem. That physical separation of food leads to sort of cultural separation of our kids in the dining hall because the kids that are eating the different foods are sitting together, and sharing that food. So so hopefully next year we'll be able to do a bit more with getting that integrated a little bit. But it was very interesting. So thanks for listening.